Hey guys, EST here, and we all know gas prices have been going up, so let's talk about gas storage because, well, if you're like me, you went and got enough to pretty much last, in the snowblower or the mower. And, I thought we were on mower, but we're back to blower as of this morning. But, yeah, I went and got about 5 gallons of Premium 91, ethanol free, and I'm going to talk about why you might want to do that. But also, everybody knows gas prices are going up, so should you store it to fuel your car? Generally, no, but it's, not really a yes or no, absolute type of thing. So let's just break down how to do it safely, what to do, what not to do, what works and what doesn't. So I know quite a bit about gasoline storage actually, but as is the norm for these videos, I looked up, gasoline storage tips and storage safety and that kind of stuff, and I found some of the dumbest stuff. Don't mix it with kerosene. Don't smoke right next to it. Don't try to use gasoline to put out a fire. It's like the dumbest. Let me just say, okay, go read them for yourself if you're not at all familiar with how gasoline works. Otherwise, my gosh, was that 5 websites a wasted time. But some of the more interesting things I saw was allow room for expansion in the container. I forgot, hydrocarbon fuels don't act like water. Water doesn't expand or contract much, or really almost at all. Gasoline, completely different. So do not fill it to the brim and don't overfill it. A lot of them have safe fill lines. You might think, well, what is that just for pouring? Convenience? No, I'm going to fill it all the way up. What am I going to buy one more container? But no, you don't want to go above that because it might expand, and you should never store gasoline under pressure. That does all kinds of stuff you don't want to happen. Also, just know that 50 feet is the safe distance for vapors to kind of flow, and they're much heavier than air, obviously, so they crawl across the ground. So if you have like a pilot light or a campfire or a grill or something, you do want to be 50 feet away from any container in case it starts leaking, venting, or something like that, or there's a spill. Also, this kind of goes without saying for me, but some people might not know this. If you're using especially like a plastic container, but even a metal one, do not store it in direct sunlight. In fact, keep any food storage out of sunlight and water, believe it or not, because it'll just trigger algae growth depending upon how you treated it. And keep any medications out of sunlight. Just keep everything out of sunlight. Sunlight's awful. But yeah, gasoline, it doesn't like to be hot. It doesn't like to get hit by ultraviolet rays. It's a pretty big complex molecule with a lot of energy stored in it, so you don't want anything coming in breaking it down. And breakdowns and chemical reactions happen quicker, or sometimes at all, at higher temperatures. So don't do that. Also, you don't want to store it near anything that can cause a static spark. So any other plastics, carpeting, really concrete is fine. You want to store it as low as possible, just for safety. And really they say a wooden shelf is pretty ideal. Remember, a gasoline leak can eat away at all kinds of crazy stuff. It's a really powerful solvent. So you want to address any leaks, but in case there's just a couple drops and stuff, it doesn't seem to do much to wood, and wood cannot cause a static spark. Now, a lot of cans have, a nice long neck, but you might want to have a funnel just in case. Here's one that even, this got me. I honestly don't think I would have thought of this. Don't use a funnel. Don't buy a funnel. Don't even keep a funnel near it. That's one of those like cheapy Harbor Freight ones that generate static. So you just take wool or whatever you want when it's nice and dry, rub your hands on the funnel and see if you can feel like your hair rising. If so, that is a static generating plastic, which a lot of the cheap ones are. You want a very specifically anti-static funnel for filling anything. One little spark, you're going to regret it. You're going to lose all your fuel and you're going to lose whatever's around you. So it's worth spending a couple extra bucks. Hardware stores don't tend to have anti-static ones or they're not labeled, but auto stores absolutely. So as far as what container, metal versus plastic, it's actually more important that you just get one that's modern and to spec. Plastic that's not to spec or plastic that's 20 years old is going to be dry, brittle, and basically the expiration date. Plastic containers have expiration dates. Usually on bottles of water, it's when the plastic starts breaking down. And I know there's different types of plastics, but if a gasoline container even looks sun-bleached a little bit, stop using it. If it kind of doesn't have its nice flex, it just feels like it might be harder and brittle, get rid of it. Heck, if you can afford it right now, just get rid of it, period, and just buy a new one. Mine's getting there. It was coated in dust, so I had to kind of wash it off to assess that. I kind of pressed it, and I'm like, well, there's no leaks. It's not bad. Kind of checked it with a flashlight to see if there's any thin spots, because I know it's pretty old. I know it's several years for sure, if not like over a decade. But right now, those things ain't cheap. And the other thing is don't buy a cheap one, because if you go to some like discount liquidator, some Chinese importer kind of place, some kind of no standards, I don't know where this came from kind of place, you can get one that won't stand up to anything. Too thin of walls, all that. When you're storing something this important, this crucial, and this bad if it leaks, spend money on it. But don't assume that just because something's expensive that it's good. if you got the time or you're just like in the market to replace yours sometime in the next month or two, just whenever you're at a hardware store, go up, poke them, flex them, see if there's different models, different prices, and just say, oh yeah, this one's way thicker. Oh, this one's way too light. This thing weighs 2 ounces. What the heck? And then, oh, this one's metal, but, I could tell the paint job's already scuffed just by them taking it off the pallet. So I wouldn't say, oh, metal's always better than plastic or metal rusts always get plastic, because it's just more about the age and also, like I said, to spec. The exact specifications, at least in America, for what a legal versus illegal gasoline container have changed somewhat recently. I couldn't get a date on it, but it's more recent than you think. It's not like, 1980. That's another reason to just get another one. Now, the problem is like a really good one, like the ones I saw were like upwards, I think even last year, of like $19. And that was, I think, a 2.5 or 3 gallon. So it holds less money worth of gasoline than it takes to buy the container. So if I were to hit on the theme of this video, should I store fuel for my vehicle in a bunch of containers in my garage? Generally, no. Should you have absolutely zero gasoline on hand or like a quarter gallon that you go fill up, every time you need to fill up your lawnmower? No, you should have a little more than that. Generally 5 gallons is like I think it's the max allowed legal limit for one container. And it's also the maximum recommended by all kinds of fire codes and stuff. Now look up your local laws and all that, but 5 gallons is usually the limit. Well, that won't get you too far in a vehicle, but it'll probably get you at least 100 miles. And that's if it's not very efficient. So 100 miles will get you some places, okay? And that's if your car was empty. So the number one best way to store fuel is in your fuel tank. You are never, ever going to exceed that. And like if you have an 18-gallon tank and you have, 10 gallons in it right now, you're not going to exceed 10 gallons worth of gasoline in your garage or wherever you're storing it. And if you do, you shouldn't be, because that's quite a lot. Also, you got to constantly cycle through it. 3 months is healthy, and with fuel stabilizer, it's about a year. I've heard stories of longer. So you've got the expense of the container being more expensive than the gas. So if you're trying to buy gas now so that when it's, $6-7 a gallon or whatever, well, now you're saving money. No, because you had to buy the container. Just do the math. It's not that hard. Also, whatever you buy, you pretty much have to use in the next 3 months. I mean, I was just at the beginning of the season for spring for the lawnmower, get about 6 months worth. And then for snow season, I get about 6 months worth, which usually turns out to be about 2 to 3 gallons. So that's usually about what I have on me in one container, and I only have one container. I'm just not going to buy gas and have it go bad and, an extra 2-gallon container just sitting there. Not only did I then have to buy the stabilizer and the container, so I'm probably paying $10 a gallon already, but then I've got a fire hazard sitting there, and if I don't use it in the next, couple months to a year, with stabilizer it's about a year, then I lost the money. So all around, it is a terrible idea to store a large amount of gas. Terrible. But general prepper rule that I've referenced at least 2 or 3 times on this channel: when your car gets to half, fill it up. That's simple. Never let your car go below half, because then you can always get, like in my car, I think like 180 miles. I've actually had it happen a long time ago when a tornado came through, knocked out power for about 3 days. My car was on a quarter and I had to borrow my parents' car to go to work. I think after the first day I thought, well, why don't I just get a power outage report and then drive to like the next city over? Turned out it was like 2 cities over. I had to drive a ways, but I got a full tank, and I think they were out of low octane. I had to get mid, actually. And still, even then, I thought, well, tornadoes, whatever. I wasn't much of a prepper-minded person back then. I am now, and this is why people say that. It's always going to happen at the worst time. It's always going to happen when you're below a quarter tank. So now think about how often you store, in double quotes, gasoline in your car, and how many gallons on average it is. So if you need it for something else, like a generator, like you have a generator, like, oh, I want to store 10 gallons of fuel. Well, even with stabilizer, you got to burn through it every year, so it's going in your car anyway. You might as well just not store it and then just have it in your car and just never let your car go below half, because then you're always storing it. Plus, your car has an alternator. Why even buy the generator? But I heard that idling your car for a long time, like a really long time, like hours, can blow out the transmission. I tried to investigate it. Now, I found 2 people saying that, but no official documentation. I don't know if it's only old cars, new cars, automatics, certain horsepower, 4-wheel, 2-wheel, I have no idea. Could be 1% of cars, could be all cars. But yeah, so just keep that in mind. But also keep in mind that you probably can't guard your generator 24/7. And if you've got power when nobody else does, that thing's getting stolen. Or at least in my neighborhood it is. So storing fuel for a generator and storing fuel for your car, it's just for all kinds of reasons a bad idea. And if you're just going to say, oh, well, I'm going to buy it now for 4 something a gallon so that when it's 8, I can save money, you absolutely are not going to save money. You're going to spend so much on the container and stabilizer. Don't do it. Now, if you think your area is going to run out of gasoline, that's a thing, and you won't even need the stabilizer. And if you already have the container, yeah, top it off. I'd go do that like right now. In fact, I did just go do that yesterday. Now, the other thing, if you want your gasoline to last as long as possible, obviously cool temperatures, try to temperature control it. I keep it in my garage, oh well. If you can get some cheap stabilizer, cool. Honestly, the stabilizer is mostly for the stuff that's already in the fuel lines and in the carburetor on a generator. You don't need it for storing it in a container, but it certainly doesn't hurt. It hurts the overall cost of setting up a stable container because you got to buy the container and the stabilizer and the gas now, but better than losing it. And by the way, if you can, take a Sharpie, oil pen, whatever, and write on the outside the last time you filled it up. And in fact, also write on it the date that the fuel container was put into service. I also have a little bit of octane booster sitting around too, but that stuff's kind of expensive. That's if it does go kind of sour, but you want to try and run it through something, you can boost it back up, to the proper octane to run in a car. The thing is though, I don't know what the shelf life on the octane booster is. See how complicated this gets? So once you're set with that, my other thing is, okay, get a gasoline siphon for your car. And a lot of cars have siphon filters, unfortunately. So you might need like a wooden dowel, a rake, a metal pole, something to basically bust through that. I think it's just like a mesh. I don't remember if it's at the top or the bottom. I think it's near the top. But yeah, if you're not getting anything, I don't know. It might be around a bend too, and it might be you can't get past it. So not every car is siphonable, just FYI, keep that in mind. But if you get, some hose, a gasoline siphon kit would be nice, like a purpose-built one, so the plastics are all good and won't spark and all that. And you got the anti-static funnel, there you go. That's pretty good, but that's only if you have something to do with the gasoline besides your car. But if you're like a family or something, you got multiple cars and you just want to centralize it with one and empty one, fill up the other and, maximize the distance, okay. So that's kind of cheaper than trying to get this whole, $200 gasoline storage thing that's a giant fire hazard liability and going to cost you a ton. Just your car, siphon, done. You can go wherever you want with the gasoline. Ta-da. So generally, by the way, 10 ounces of stabilizer is about what's recommended for 25 gallons. And the stabilizer, it's usually under $10, but I don't think I've ever seen it below $5. So it's, it's up there. If you're just looking at saving money and I just completely crushed your hopes and dreams with math, well, welcome to this channel. But also, there's gas price tracking apps, a lot of free ones out there, ad supported, whatever, on every platform, Apple, whatever, Android. There's websites for it, and I guess if you use one of the main ones, those are usually the first ones to go down. So maybe ask your friends or just when you Google it to find a good one, just see what you like and see what's applicable in your area and has good reporting. Just keep scrolling until you're on like the 10th result and start there, just so that you can be different than everyone else. A lot of these websites, these days are on flexible like AWS plans or something, so they'll just all of a sudden add more servers. But I don't know, if I had $1 for every time something got shouted out on like TV or on, a big live stream and then everybody goes there and crashes the site, it does still happen. So the apps, the sites, the servers, all that stuff, they might go down when, I should say, like if gas stations in your area start completely running out of gas. Now that's the other thing. That's another good reason to keep your vehicle at half at all times, so you could still, get out of the area, fill up somewhere else, or still go to work for a couple days or just whatever. You're not stuck. And then the lines are going to be nuts. And then, what's the priority to getting it to your area versus somewhere else? Sometimes I prioritize urban areas. Sometimes I do the opposite. Basically, in the last as many years as you can possibly remember in your area, and even if you moved, ask, have they ever ran out of gas during whatever? Weather event, political event, whatever. If it's happened before, it'll probably happen again. It's probably the same supply lines. So ask around, use your memory, make notes, and then use the, cheap gas apps. But the thing is, though, people will drive like 10 minutes across town to save 10 cents. Well, you just burned up about that much gas. Also, people get nuts about the price. Just do the math. If it just went from $4 to $4.30, that seems like a huge spike. You're like, oh my gosh, that's insane. The price is out of control. I think on average, I put 11 to 12 in my tank if it's like at an eighth, which I obviously don't make a habit out of. So 12 gallons, 30 cents difference. That is a $3.60 difference. I could literally just, instead of getting a high-end $5 salad at the gas station, I could get a potato and an onion for about 42 cents. And that's my meal for the day. There you go. That literally just made up the entire price difference. It's $3.60. Come on. Now, if you drive an hour to work and back every day and fill up twice a week, yeah, you start multiplying that by 23 days or how many work days are in a month. That's going to get expensive. But really, if you've had the job for a while and you plan on staying there, move closer. That's not even just right now, just in general. And people who live in like LA and drive 2 hours through traffic there and back, they must not value their time, their money, their sanity, their health, their car depreciation, their own mental health, their sleep cycle. Like, whoever does that is an idiot. And clearly you can see every day like a million people do it. New York, LA, and first of all, move out of those places. And secondly, if your commute is longer than like 20 minutes, you really should have moved already. I mean, I'm not saying get up and move this week to save on gas, but if, surprise, you're basically making $3,000 less per year because gas just went up and you drive 45 minutes back and forth to work, well, you just got a pay cut. If you're like, I don't want to lose $3, $4, $5, $6, $7,000 a year, who knows? Maybe we should move, put it in the future. Certainly not an impulse decision. You might live where you want to live, but just keep in mind, have that in your budget and don't live at, 90% your means, because then if something goes up a little bit like food or gasoline or everything, thanks Biden, well, then all of a sudden you can't afford your house payments. I've always said I have met so many people that never have any money, and then I see their house and I'm like, you're just a poor person living in a big house, and 60-70% of your money in a year goes to your mortgage and you have nothing to spend. That is, I would do the opposite, and they don't even need all the space. Not to mention the property taxes. That's just stupid. But this ain't the real estate advice channel. I'm just saying, when it goes to, am I going to drive, 10 minutes to go to a different gas station? Do the math. How much more does it really cost to fill up? Do the math. How much are you losing, this fill up, or how much are you losing in a year? Because those are two completely different things. Do the math. It's not hard math. No, if you're looking forward and you're like, this is going to cost me an extra $200 a month, and I don't make enough at my job as it is because everything's getting more expensive, or just you thought you'd get a promotion, or you took the job temporarily and got stuck there and nothing else is available, or just whatever your situation is. Maybe you're on a fixed income, but you still got to drive places. Well, it is cheaper to store money than gas, and it's easier too. So if you just want to say, okay, this is the emergency, I've got to go somewhere gas funded, just have $100 in an envelope or whatever. First of all, if you're a prepper, if you saw one of my recent videos, you should have cash on hand regardless, in case, Justin Trudeau locks down your bank account. I know, totally obscure and unheard of situation there that I just made up out of thin air. Oh, you gave $50 to your uncle because they posted something on Facebook and you kind of agree with the protest after reading a sentence about it. Haha, now you can't buy food or gas or go to work. Yep, that's how the lefties run things. First of all, stop voting for them, and secondly, have cash on hand. Plus, power outages, ATMs are out, but stores are still open, in the dark with like lanterns or whatever. At least that's how we do it where I live. Everything's paper, receipts on hand, or by hand with like a pencil and pen. Yeah, everywhere that was still kind of working had not only like a little bit of a price hike, but hand-powered solar calculators and cash only. And yeah, kept it rolling. But this is more about like budgetary than like, infrastructure collapse kind of thing. But also, let's say, your neighbor's retired and they've got 5 gallons to run their, riding lawnmower or whatever, and you want to pay them cash to, run it on there. They probably don't take PayPal or card, but you got to go to work and you want to offer them $10 a gallon for their remaining fuel, and then just say, I don't care if you don't cut your lawn. There's all these scenarios where instead of trying to barter for something that they maybe do or maybe don't need, just have the cash, And like I said, it is easier and safer to store a couple dollar bills in just like a $9, which we reviewed on this channel, fireproof bag, than it is to store, 1 week worth of fuel for your car. It's just, it's not practical, it's not safe, and it's not a good idea. So people doing it are just not thinking. And my gosh, trying to store 55 gallon drums of it, get some pumps that aren't even rated for gasoline that probably generate static, and then sell 500 gallons of fuel out of your garage because it went up 20%. Yes, people tried that around like 2008, and most of them got arrested. Or, fire citations or illegal theft of gasoline price controlled, this and that law. Just, boy, find something else to flip. My God, water filters or something. If you're going to buy, hold, and then resell during a shortage, at reasonable, understandable, safe, agreed upon prices, not absolute criminal level gouging, just saying. You're actually just providing a resource to people, just saying, gasoline ain't it, bro. And if every station by you is out and you somehow get the word out online that you got gas, the first people showing up are the police. Not only to seize it and use it or make you a better offer, but to probably also arrest you or threaten you with a citation. Now, even with everything I said, a lot of preppers say, I've got, 1 car tank worth of fuel. Which then they also usually follow it up with, well, since I never let it go below half, I've got half of 1 car tank full of fuel in my garage. I think that's reasonable. 5 to 10 gallons or whatever's legal in your area, look up laws. But just remember, cycle it, treat it, and it's going to be more expensive. If you are just so hung up on, I've got to have it, I got to be able to go a long distance, I got to be able to go get some medication or something in case of whatever. Okay, it is what it is, but a lot of people cut it off at that. And for generators, it's just a couple days, which is several gallons. They're probably about the equivalent, enough to run your car for, about half a tank. Depends on the model of generator. And a lot of them are diesel, a lot of them are propane, and the best of the best run on anything. So if the takeaway from this video that you're getting is, oh, the best way to store gasoline is don't for, these 50 different reasons, well, that was, good information, but now I'm just mad. No, the takeaway is the best way to store gasoline is to spend absolutely nothing and just keep half a tank of gas in your car. Your car is your giant rolling high capacity, ultra safe gasoline carrying thing. So checking my notes for anything I missed here. The one major thing that I missed is whenever you're going to store it, make sure it's ethanol free. That goes like triple if you're going to store it in a generator or in a car, because it will sort with the ethanol on bottom. And what's ethanol's octane rating? Not freaking high enough is the answer. Your car cannot run on pure ethanol. I can almost guarantee that. And you know what's really hard to shake up? Your car. Although if it won't start and the gas has been sitting there for a while, you actually should attempt to shake the car slightly to slosh the gas around. Fun little weird tip that you might not have heard, but ethanol free usually also happens to be the high octane 91. I think some people sell 93, but for sure around me it's 91, which is currently 60 to 70 cents per gallon higher. So that's wonderful. Also, octane drop from the molecules breaking down and turning into, I heard, some kind of varnish or turpentine. I don't actually know what gasoline breaks down into. I thought hexane. Probably the same thing. I don't know. But yeah, if you know you're going to store it, get ethanol free. I mean, if you can get like 87 octane ethanol free, you're going to save some money. Otherwise, just go for the premium stuff because it's almost always ethanol free. I think to get to that octane rating, it basically can't have ethanol in it. And if the sign doesn't say, the pump absolutely should. So yeah, I just picked up another 2.5 gallons of 91 ultra premium. It was, I believe, $9.99. I accidentally stopped it at blindly without looking, so that was kind of funny. So we'll round up and say $10. And I mean, it was just literally for my lawnmower for the whole season. I put a little bit of stabilizer in it and we're good. If you do get ethanol mixed stuff though, before you pour it into anything, if it's been there for even more than a month, shake that container up without spilling it would be nice. And then let it resettle, because after aggravating it or whatever, agitating it, that's the word, you're going to get way more vapors when you kind of unplug it to, pour it into something, and then you're just going to lose a little bit, and the smell, and the, if it's indoors or partially indoors in a garage, yeah, just shake it up and let it sit for, a little bit. Then use it. And then if it's already super sour, but it's an emergency, hopefully you've got octane boosters sitting around or can go get it somewhere. Oh, also just another thing I wrote in my notes, never fill up a container while it's sitting in your car. One, in case of a spill, a couple drips, you're going to be smelling that, the vapors, the fumes. Always set it down on the concrete next to the pump, not in your car, but also your car probably has carpet, and that's going to cause a spark potentially. Carpeting, especially like polyester, synthetic fiber carpeting, plus, plastic gas tank, yeah, don't do it. Well, not even don't do it, like literally it's illegal, and also the staff will yell at you. I've seen it. I haven't done it because I'm not that stupid, but I've seen it. One more thing that was in my notes is know how your public transportation works, because remember, you can still take the bus. If that's applicable in your area, as long as they're still running, you could jump on there and get where you're going just a little bit less efficiently and slower. And yeah, the buses will probably be crowded. They might be at capacity. But typically what happens is nobody knows what's going on, and then the transit website goes down. Nobody can buy a pass. Or I know it, when I was in Vegas, you would just put paper money into one of the terminals at the bus stops. It would print a bus pass, or you could actually pay cash on the bus. That was actually really nice. I didn't expect that. And yet, even I'm guilty of this. In my local area, I know where the bus terminal is. That's about as far as my research went. Don't know where any of the stops are. Don't know what goes what route. Nothing. I don't know what kind of pass. And by the way, a lot of public programs in like almost every moderately kind of okay sized city, even on up, they'll give you like a discounted pass if you're a student, military, old, disabled, on Social Security, anything. If you just say I'm poor and ask for it, sometimes they give you one discounted or free. If it's for work purposes or it's an emergency, sometimes you get one for free. Sometimes they just start saying the buses are free for everyone during any kind of natural disaster or power outage. You don't need to learn the ins and outs of that, but just knowing, okay, I got to generally go to this stop and take this bus and they take cash, or I got to go on this website. Okay, I already registered the account. Cool. Linked it up to my PayPal or my credit card or whatever, and then just leave it at that. And that now yours so much further than everybody else. That is always an option, whether it's purely an economic thing where everybody's filling up with gas and grumbling about it, but you can't afford it, or if there just is no gas. I don't know how the buses are running then, but it's a nice alternative just in case. But let's talk about going places to get things. ultimate prepper items that you can have as a bicycle. Even if you're horribly out of shape, I guarantee at about 10 miles an hour, you can get several miles. It is very, very simple. And everybody who jumps on a bike and then overdoes that on the first day and gets, sore thighs is like, wow, I didn't know I could do that much. Well, you obviously don't understand physics. Yes, I'm going to quote it for like the 100 billionth time on this channel. To accelerate an object to 10 miles an hour takes, X amount of energy, but to accelerate it to 20 miles an hour instead, it takes 4 times the energy, not 2. It is what they call geometric, not linear. So if you want to get a bike to 30 miles an hour instead of 15, it is going to take almost more energy than the average human can put out. So it's all these factors, but like I said, even a pretty out of shape person should be able to do 10 miles an hour on a bike and get almost anywhere. And you'd be surprised how fast it goes compared to walking. Walking is just awful. I wouldn't walk or jog anywhere. A bicycle is several times more efficient. It's just is what it is. And don't go, 25 miles an hour just because you feel like you can, or you'll burn tons of calories. Unless you have a reason to go that fast, don't do it. Also, if you're going to go for metal cans, get 2 of those or whatever, just in case, even just leave them empty just in case you need it, but then you don't buy a siphon or you can't siphon your car and you got to go ride your bike to go get some fuel because you're almost out. You got to go to work and, now the fuel is finally back because the truck came and delivered, near you 2 miles away. Well, 5 gallons of gasoline is a lot heavier than 2, and it's going to be really hard to carry a large container versus a small one. You show up on a bike, you put 2 gallons in, that's at least enough to drive your car back to the station, although there's probably a line, and now you're waiting in it twice, but it'll get you somewhere. I mean, to me, if I'm on 1/16 of a tank and I put in 2 gallons, I can get pretty far. I mean, 2 gallons could get me 50 plus miles, I would think. At least be able to drive somewhere else, but like I said, stop leaving your car below a half. But, if your area gas stations ran out of gas and you were at 60% full and then you burned up the rest going to work and now you're critically low and they've been out and now you're like, oh crap. Well, then get on, check gas apps, see who has good prices, see who has gas at all, plan a route, get there, and then have a small enough container that you can go on a bike, because on foot would be awful, to a gas station, get a little bit, and then bring it back. Not just, I got the biggest one possible because now I can get, twice as far. Well, good luck carrying that much safely or comfortably. And yes, they will yell at you for using unapproved containers. Remember all those idiots trying to fill up I think a couple of them were fake, like the truck bed. That one might have been real. The garbage bag one, that was staged for fake social media clicks. And that was just the last gas shortage. My gosh, people were getting wild even trying to fill up, Rubbermaids and stuff in 2008, 2009, or somewhere right around that time. Yeah, the gas station attendant's got to come out and be like, approved containers only. In fact, the police, the firefighters might be sitting there saying approved containers only. Stop being idiots. Don't blow this place up. I mean, if it gets bad enough or you got a good enough, leadership in your area, it'll be the National Guard telling you not to fill up a Rubbermaid full of gasoline. But you know what? I'm telling you not to do that right now, so don't do it. But now that said, if you're just going to leave it empty and it's only for emergency, you guys know the mantra on this channel is buy it used. Well, guess what? Video incoming, don't buy used space heaters. Yes, mine just lit on fire. We're going to do an autopsy shortly. I don't buy used smoke alarms. I don't buy used, anything important. Less blood pressure monitor I got that retail. There's some stuff when it's important that I will pay full retail and get it new. So yeah, you'll probably see, a gasoline tank, a little whatever at an estate sale for $2, but you have no idea what the history is. I mean, it could be all worn down, could be bleached. I mean, you could usually tell, but you generally don't see anything too new or nice at a sale like that. And just because something looks industrial, like racing grade for a fuel carrier at a pawn shop or something doesn't mean you should get it. In fact, you don't know what was in it. Could have been kerosene. They could have a Sharpie on the outside that says gasoline and it's kerosene. I'm citing that example because that literally happened to me. I smelled it and I'm like, that's kerosene. Let's go erase this with a Sharpie. Cross it off and put kerosene on it. Yes, I bought it blind at an estate auction with a mystery liquid in it. Oh, also the kerosene was bad. So just if you're going to get a container, get a new to spec one. And if you're going to replace yours because of all the reasons I said, just get 2 maybe just in case. So you got something just in case. Now that, like I said, they're upwards of $20+. So if you're worried about just saving money on gas, there's nothing you can really do other than the gas tracking apps and dropping a 20 on a container that you're not going to use unless it's an emergency or right before you see the next weather event coming. But in the meantime, you're going to leave it empty. Well, that's not going to do good things for gas prices right now. So I'd recommend, just store it in your vehicle. Or if you do have the money, go pick it up right now before everybody starts buying them. Because when there's a run on anything, I mean, last time I was at the hardware store just a couple days ago, there were 0 gas containers left. So a lot to think about. I think I hit every single possible angle about storage usage. Is it for economic reasons? Is it for emergency reasons? Is it for a generator? Is it for a car? How to store it? What the different types are? The different fuel additives and container types and pretty much everything in between. So if you felt informed, leave a big ol' like on the video. Maybe send it to your friends so they're trying to bum gas or rides off of you. And then, maybe right below it, throw the link to how to store your own dry goods for cheap. And then they won't talk to you about food either. In fact, just tell them all to subscribe. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. And yes, the VPN video and other tech videos are coming soon.